What's up, you guys? Damn right I got knives here. You know what's coming here. I'm doing an interview here with Joe Hansen of Hansen Metals. He's on here waiting. I'm going to add him right now. We're going to get going.
Nice.
All right, man. What's up? Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Let me get my volume up a little here. It seems a little quiet. All right. Where are you at right now?
I'm home. I'm doing this from my little personal office, basically, so nothing crazy.
Cool, perfect. I'm in my living room. Well, that's
Nice.
my fireplace behind me, you know.
I was gonna say, I love the
Yeah, I was like, where can I do this that in my house that it looks like it could be a talk show, you know, like some sort of Conan O'Brien kind of looking thing. And then oh yeah, the mantle with the, let me get this dang camera looking right now. Yeah, the mantle with the knives in the background.
It's official. I like it.
Cool, man. Thank you so much for being here. It's awesome. I forget what episode. I think this is number 6, if I'm correct. Yeah, I think it's 6. So yeah, man, it's so great to have you here and talk and this sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's finally great to do it in person, online.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be cool to do it like actual talk show style.
Side by side, yeah.
Yeah, like have a couch, you know, and like some co-host. Cheers, man. Cheers. What are you drinking?
I got a double IPA from WeldWorks. It's a Colorado brew here.
I've never tried that, but maybe I have. I've been to Colorado a couple times. I'm drinking local San Diego Modern Times sour beer.
Local, nice.
Nice little sour. Cool, yeah. So where did you grow up and how old are you?
Yeah, so I'm 38. I've always been in Colorado. I was born in Fort Morgan, which is a tiny little place out east in Colorado, and now I'm in northern Colorado, in Windsor. It's kind of by Fort Collins, basically. So.
Oh yeah, Fort Collins. Is the Star Club still there, or whatever it's called?
The Star Club? I don't think so. A lot of the clubs and bars and restaurants just kind of filter in and out, but they're everywhere.
Right. Fort Collins. What was your first knife? Can you remember?
Yeah. When I was probably 4, my grandpa gave me, it was like a fingernail clipper that had a knife inside of it instead of like the little digger thing or the file. So it was just like a little blade. And my parents freaked out. They didn't like that. So my dad ended up giving me a Swiss Army knife because he was like, you know, you're just going to cut yourself on this dull thing. And then I ended up cutting myself with that.
Did you have the toothpick kind?
It was that, but it also had like all the other multi-tools because I thought that was pretty cool, you know, back in the day. And I was trying to see how sharp it was, and I cut myself. And then I started like freaking out and running, and I just got blood everywhere. So that was, you know,
dude, yeah. When I was young, if your Swiss Army knife didn't have a toothpick in it, you were just like not cool at all.
But you
like,
always lose
your knife sucked
too, you know?
if it didn't have a toothpick.
Right, and the tweezers, but you always lose.
The tweezers were like top tier. Then you're like,
yes.
Yeah. What got you into knife making? How did it progress from just that point of getting, you know, those first few knives into like, did it start from flipping, or did it start with an interest of knives, or how did you kind of get into then progressing into knife making?
Yeah, just I always loved knives from the times of first getting cut, just because I got to have one so early that you kind of gain that respect for them, and then just always loved them. But I never had um, very expensive knives until probably like after high school, basically. And then when I got into Bally's more, my dad gave me my first one. It's this guy from, it's like a Taiwanese made one.
Whoa.
You can't hardly flip it because, I mean, you're trying to do chaps, you got a bottle opener, you got a fish descaler or something, and like,
I mean, is that jimping or is that supposed to be a saw on the back? My God.
yeah, yeah, it's definitely sawing, but
And well, bottle opener there.
and it was just so cool that I just loved them, and I
Can
mean,
I
I've
see
had
the
this for,
handles again?
yeah, they're plastic channel,
Oh, okay.
and I've had this for probably 25 years maybe, but um, I could never really do much with it. Even opens and closes, it's gonna just rake on your hand with
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
So, but yeah, and so then after that, I just kind of got into it more, where I wanted something where I could flip it. So then my first kind of nicer one again was Benchmade 51, and then a 3.0 Alpha Beast because they were just brand new right then. It was like 2015 or 16, basically around then. And so yeah, and then I just started modding. I always would modify my own knives and stuff like that, but then getting into Bally's, everybody wants things their own way and customized and has their own preferences, and I did too. And I owned quite a few different models and knives. I love collecting things, I love flipping and making, so it just kind of all went hand in hand with that. But
Did you experiment on a like fixed blade first or pocket knife or anything like that? Or did you go straight to ball?
no, yeah, that was the thing that I wanted to make, that I was passionate about most. I've made some fixed blades for friends and family as gifts and stuff, but that's not something I'm trying to dive into. Those are pretty saturated, tough markets, anyways,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something I enjoy, but that's not kind of like my main direction with
You were already
making.
flipping. You were already flipping knives when you thought, "Oh, I should make one."
I just didn't find anything that was perfect that I wanted it. I wanted things to my specs. I was modifying things so far to the point where it was, not even or it's the same knife anymore. So it was just kind of a natural progression. I was like, I need to make my own.
And then, how did you learn from that point? What influencers did you have? How did you come across equipment? How did you just kind of
Yeah.
where did you? Was it a local shop? Was it?
First one was just me and a friend. We just used whatever tools we had in our garages, basically, with um, all steel. It wasn't even like knife maker grade steel. It was just kind of whatever rudimentary stuff just to slap one together. And then, I mean, I think it was like 9 ounces because it's like straight steel before even removing, making hole patterns or anything like that. But you could flip, and I flipped it, and I was pretty stoked on that. And then that one that made me realize that I wanted CNC. I really like the precision aspects. I like a lot of custom made, like fully by hand, but also I wanted kind of little greater control over certain aspects. So that's kind of why I went the CNC route.
And then learning that and doing that, was there other people you were looking towards to learn how to do it, or at least get inspiration, or any direct people that were like at you, next to you, helping learn and or
Um,
learning with you?
Kind of when I was getting into modding and stuff like that. I mean, like John Sorensen, Rotten Designs was huge. He still is. That was before he was making his own knives. He was just modding stuff. Um, Chad Hammers Designs, he was doing his thing then. He was just modifying as well, like anodizing back then. Um, but like I didn't really get a whole lot of direct help from those people. It was more just kind of um, they were kind of the only ones doing it at the time. So I just kind of wanted to do my own thing too. I would say, if anybody though, Julian, JK Design, he's been an awesome friend and like a big influence. I respect a lot of the things that he does in his business and his design, and like that's you know, he's been a big help whenever I've needed it, and so, you know, appreciate it. Thanks, Julian.
Well, it's no secret you guys are, you know, friends and
Yeah.
work together and collaborate and stuff and live in the same city.
Yeah, we're pretty close. We're about an hour apart.
Right. And, you know, a lot of people know him. And so I think I've talked with him and had him be part of a review I did with the Monarch. And you and I had talked before, just messaging back and forth. So it's kind of cool to hear your story and all that too, and the connections there and how it grew. Because I was, for this interview too, I started looking back through your Instagram. I'm like, damn, it goes really far back, and I couldn't even get to the end of it. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that you were influenced by and making and involved in. So that was cool.
Yeah, I think I started my Instagram in 2015. It was because my cousin, I was making holsters. I was doing Hansen holsters at the time with my cousin. And he was like, you know, you need to get on this, because I wasn't about like Facebook or Instagram or kind of social media up until that point. That just wasn't my thing. So he got me into it. And then like shortly after, making holsters is tough, man. I mean, there's so many people that do it, and like when you're doing it by hand, we had a vacuum press, so they were nice, but like I didn't have the CNC cutting them out, and like, I mean, you need an army of people to run that kind of a thing. So
what was your first full Balisong that you made that became like your first actual one?
It was that
you would
one
sell
that I made
multiples of. Sorry?
So the first one that I sold was the Monarch, actually, because
Okay.
that first one that I made, then I went to try to do CNC with Julian and did the Brick Valley, and then only did 3 of those. I was really wanting this thing perfected the way that I wanted it, and it was just taking a long time because I had a full-time job. I have 2 kids. Currently, I'm doing it by myself. At the time, I was married, so it was just like a time and resource thing. So, but
Right.
yeah, it was interesting just because when I was doing this, that's when Julian was doing his emissaries, and so then he just kind of saw, you know, what I had to offer and the things that he was doing, and we both were, you know, pretty excited to want to work together. So then we did the Monarch, and that was the first knife that I ever sold. So
nice.
it was a collab, yeah. So I didn't even have a brand basically before I was selling knives. It was just under my name. It wasn't Hansen Metals.
Okay, so then I got to ask, why did you guys go bearings and not bushings right away?
We
or was it both?
At least the first ones were only bearing.
Right.
This
okay.
one's a bearing one. Just because going with the pinless, we wanted minimal hardware. We wanted it to just be as robust as possible, being a channel, so you don't have to really deal with a whole lot of tuning. You know, once you have bearings, and then you can just kind of dial in where you like it, and then you don't have to do a whole lot to them. But it's one of my favorite bearing knives to flip, just because most bearing knives are hard to control. They're so fast. They don't have, you know, even really tightly tuned bushing knives, they seem like they don't have play, but they're still just enough that it gives you that little extra control as opposed to cage bearing or IKBS. So yeah.
Yeah. So where's your shop at? Is it at your house, or do you?
Yep, garage, and then
Okay.
yeah, garage, and then my desk inside. But sometimes I used to work with Julian more, but as time has grown, I have everything that I need as well. So
all right. Well, then what about the inspiration behind the Solo? There, you know, I was teasing you, calling it the Han Solo and the Joe Han Solo.
Yeah.
After my last interview where it was all Star Wars out for Lucas, I didn't dare like go too far with that idea.
Nah, that's fine. I just wanted something different. I really liked just a compound grind, and you don't see that sort of a thing really on Bally's.
That blade is awesome. That's definitely what attracted me so much
And
to
it's
the
like a
game.
hollow grind as well, so it's just kind of different. And then I have the blood groove or fuller, so um, yeah, it just
I'm
kind of
also kind of
incorporated the things
pissed.
that I
I'm
wanted.
kind of pissed that I don't have one. So, yeah, I've been trying to get one, and they're not easy to come by because most people who get them want to keep them. I did see it a couple times, and I didn't grab it when I should have, but they, you know,
Well,
that
appreciate
green,
it.
it looks so good in that green handle you were doing too. It was like a two-tone green kind of.
Thanks. Yeah, some of the
Yeah,
Flipperano or something maybe.
yeah, yeah. I thought you made
Uh,
one that was all. Didn't you sell one all green?
I did have an all green and like it was like a two-tone with purple maybe or something. Or there's
Yeah,
been a couple. I've sold I think 5 protos and 17 of them so far. So there's not very many of them out there.
nice,
But I'm doing those right now. The V2 Monarchs are wrapping up, so that's what's in the works right now is solos. And yeah,
nice,
I called it the soloist, but I just call it the solo for short. Like you were playing an instrument. That's kind of what I derived the name from. So
nice. I like that. Yeah. Um, okay. So okay, let's talk about the Monarch then for a moment because I was like thought I'd do a couple notes and tell you guys. I got the Monarch V2, and I freaking and I'm not just saying this because you're on here. I love this knife for a
thank
lot
you.
of different reasons. It's one of my favorites for flipping. It's definitely in my top five. I pick up and flip. Because I don't
Appreciate it.
have one knife I like the most. I just don't work that way. I don't
It's hard,
go
huh?
and sell a bunch of knives and get rid of everything else. I like to keep them and enjoy different knives. But it's also a few notes that I have here that I wrote was that I think of it as a top tier flipping knife. Like if you're looking at a knife that flips really good but is expensive, but also the reason why it's so good is really important too, is that it's built really freaking strong. That's one thing about this knife is like some knives you flip and you feel like they're going to fall apart. This one you feel like it's super freaking solid.
Yeah.
um
Definitely
uh
wanted them to be robust. And then with all these V2s, all the handles, the
yeah,
titanium was heat treated. So just to add
and
to
then the
that
other cool thing
durability.
is people like to talk about the jimping. I don't feel it needs jimping for some reason. It just, I mean, it could, sure, that could be at a later time, but a lot of knives you wish it was there, but somehow the way these handles are shaped, it gives you this grip here at the ends. I never
Yep.
feel like I'm missing some jimping personally on this knife.
Nice. Yeah. I like large chamfers. I prefer that generally over rounding or jimping, stuff like that.
Um, uh, oh, the blade shape is great. That's the other thing. I feel like it has a flow to it, even for flipping, like turning in the air while it's turning, it looks good. The balance is good. The handles are thin, but not or thick, but not too thick. That's the other thing too, is like it looks like it would have thick handles, but it doesn't really feel like it's some big thick knife. Um, and the other thing is it's short. I've heard people say it's short, and then I was like, no, dude, it's the same size as an Alpha Beast, same
Yeah.
size.
It might
It
just not
just
have like a big pronounced nipple or
right.
tang area or something.
It looks kind of short too, but then you really look at it, and it's not a short knife. It's the same size as the Alpha Beast.
Yeah,
Um,
relatively.
or a rep for that matter. The handle gap, I've heard people say something about the handle gap, like good or bad, both. I've heard both. I
Sure.
don't, it doesn't bother me at all. Like I never feel like, why is this handle gap here? It's actually looks really cool when you hold it.
Yeah, and that'll
And
give you a little bit too with when it work hardens in and then it just kind of settles once you have it and flip it for a while. I mean, once it's pretty settled, it just feels really sturdy. So like with the redesigns that we did, I don't think that there's going to be the same issues with some of those V1s. Like the bearings, those are pretty quick, so that it speeds up the momentum of that. the handles were heavier. We didn't have cutouts in them for like the speed channels. We
Yeah,
changed
this one's the full
the
channel.
chamfers.
I love the full channel. For a while there, I was looking to buy a V2 with speed channels and compare the difference and maybe keep one or the other. And then I just quit looking because I really decided I just like this so much. 4.5 ounces feels great. And I just continually have a hard time finding any problems with this knife. I've never taken it apart. It's just there. It's like this hunk of metal that it just feels really great. And
that's what we were shooting for, you know, something
yeah.
that's like minimal maintenance that just runs, you know. There's a couple guys on Instagram that put them through the paces pretty hard, you know, throwing them off of buildings and using them like pry bars, and they're still flipping, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, and that tip is a pretty stout tip too. It's not like super breakable. I'm sure it's been tipped on mine, but I dropped mine before and I've been like, and then it's all fine.
Yeah, or you know, we could reprofile it, or
yeah. I
some of
love
those
this.
ones.
Love this knife. I won't stay on it too long because I just really like that knife a lot. And
Appreciate it.
yeah. Let's see. So the idea came around that you guys were hanging out, you guys are friends, let's make a knife together.
We were kind of friends when he still lived in California. He was making those Nuck bottle openers, and so that was kind of what interested me, because I was big into kind of like all the EDC stuff. Like, here's one of his bottle opener Nucks. And I made one that was a pit bull Nuck myself, but it was something that, one of those things again where I didn't feel like it was perfect enough, so I never like sold them either. But I don't know, maybe someday again I kind of want to do some of that other stuff as well as kind of side projects, but you know, Bally's is still always the main priority.
Yeah, do you have another job or do you work
Not anymore. Yep, I'm full time now since basically 2021 January. So.
And do you work alone generally at your house and your garage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'll try to see Julian maybe like once every week or two, something like that, because it's just good to get into like work with some of those guys and, you know, get the creative juices flowing, even if we're just doing different things, you know, next to each other. Like, it's kind of cool just to hang out sometimes. And
sure.
There's some other knife makers in the area, Elm Knives and Nick Swan. Those guys, they're real close and they're good friends, and they make some amazing knives as well. So it's kind of cool just getting to, you know, bounce ideas off of people and see what everybody else is doing too.
That's fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a knife that you love the most? That, I mean, I know for me it's hard to pick that, so I can never answer that question. So I know it's not fair to ask, but do you have maybe a few knives that you really like for flipping a lot that you're like, I think this is other than, or maybe it's your own too. If there's one knife that you flip the most, what would that be? And or a knife that you like, or a few?
Yeah. The knife I flip the most is a Solo. It's just the thing that I have wanted to make. You know, it incorporates all the things that I wanted in a knife. So that's, you know, people ask me what my favorite knife is or the thing that I like to flip the most, and it is mine, because that's, you know, that's why I got into making them, is because I wanted to make ones that flip the way that I wanted them, you know. So
that's fair.
Yeah, but kind of whatever is the newest thing, basically. Like the V2 Monarch, when that first came out, like I didn't touch my Solo for a little bit because I was just flipping that thing and couldn't put it down. But I don't know. I got rid of a lot of my collection when I started kind of amassing tools to build up the business and stuff like that. So like I had a Dirty Dozen Alpha Beast and pails and, you know, just all these random knives that, you know, they were my grails at the time, but that's what helped me make my business. So it was worth it in the end. But I definitely miss a lot of knives that you might be able to see like back in my feed, you know, over the years.
And do you flip a lot? Do you flip every day?
Every day, yeah. It's always in my pocket, or, you know, probably in my hand.
And do you have a trick that you like a lot, or that you like doing, or like watching?
Um, I just like kind of anything that's smooth and flowy, but I like watching all the guys that can do doubles just because it's pretty insane. I just can't function that way.
Right. Yeah,
Brain
that's
doesn't work.
yeah. I
But
can catch with my left hand and kind of do a
yeah,
little
a little bit
something,
better.
but doing both at the same time, I'm just like, yeah.
But yeah, like all the ones that I've ever got from Julian, those are, ones that I don't get rid of. It's just something that, I enjoy all of those. I got an
Oh yeah.
orca, and this is like a roses and vine Damascus.
I have the
Nice.
emissary Bowie, which I love.
Nice. And I got
Yeah.
one of the light tech,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But also, Casey, Turbo Jackalope.
Oh
Like I
yeah.
like all the buddies that kind of are in the area too that, work with Julian or people in the Lucas, Squid.
Yeah, those are all great knives, and I have some of those myself.
Yeah. And
Back
it's
here.
mostly just the people that make them. Like I am friends with them or respect them or, stuff like that. So it's pretty cool now these days.
Yeah, that's kind of how I work. Like, I don't do a review or these interviews too. It's like I got to have a real connection to the people. Either I have to own one of their knives, or been watching their videos of them flipping, or whatever, or just kind of feel some attachment there to it. And so, yeah, I like collecting and owning
Yeah.
different makers. And um, let's see. Sorry, moving along here. What's coming up next for you? Any big plans, that anything you want to tell us about or share or sneak peek or?
Sure. The next biggest thing is going to be Blade Show in Atlanta. I'm not going to make the Texas one this year, but I'll be at table 32J.
Yeah, we're going to be
that
right next to each
backwards.
other. I'll be at the booth there with Cerrone, selling
Nice.
Cerrone and Machine Wise under Shop Soet.
Nice. I
We're
think
30.
JK will be by me, and then like Squid and Hom, those guys were all real close last year. So
I'm 32K.
you're right there. You're
Yeah.
right by us then, I think.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. We're going to be hanging out. We'll get to have a
Sounds
beer
good.
together.
Done deal.
All right. What do you do other than build knives? You have hobbies that you like to do outside? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I like hunting. Always been into, shooting, hunting, stuff like that. I got a elk last winter, so that was pretty awesome.
Okay.
Up in Steamboat here, was quite the trek, but that one was an awesome adventure there. So, but otherwise, like my son's 6 and my daughter's 3, so I'm busy.
Yeah. Do you collect guns too, or?
Yeah, I have quite a few of those as well. My dad, when I was probably like 12 or so, he was just kind of overbuying me toys and was like, this is something that you'll have forever and you can give it to your kid. And so for like, birthdays and stuff like that, that's what I would get. It was like a different gun. And now it's just kind of, yeah, another love and hobby as well. But yeah, I like making knives.
Let's see. I already asked that. Any other makers you want to shout out, or?
Yeah,
Like,
all
I
the
guess you
guys,
went over some of them.
all the guys that are making ballets. There's enough room for everybody, like I don't think there has to be like hate on anybody.
Right.
There's, it's a small enough niche in the market that we're all in, but we all fill kind of different gaps, like somebody might like more neutral or more skinny or long or short or thick or, like there's just so much variety that I like flipping different things too, so like, I think there's room for everybody that wants to be a part of it, and I like
I mean,
it
yeah,
grows
and
the
the way that,
community. Like Lucas has grown the community in a huge way these last years. I remember just watching him on like Blade Runners videos flipping with, you know, Silent J and some of those other guys and stuff. And now he's, you know, killing it, making trainers for the world. So
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, Matt Cook, he's a wealth of knowledge. There's a lot of guys that, you know, have been a big impact on the scene here. So yeah, appreciate
That
all you
ties into
guys.
my next question a bit. Like, how do you see the how do you see it developing in the years to come? Do you think it's like on this really fast rise, or do you think it's always going to be this sort of thing that nobody's going to? I mean, do you think it could be like, I always compare it to skateboarding, but then I go, I don't know if it'll ever be like skateboarding because it's knives and people just think of knife flipping and they don't get it, you know?
That's true, but I mean, knives have been around for thousands of years and skateboards haven't. So like, I feel like still, you know, it might take a while before it's an Olympic sport, but they're putting all kinds of stuff out there these days that turn into that, you know. So
Heck yeah.
it's I feel like it's grown infinitely since the last, you know, 5, 6, 7 years that I've really been like kind of immersed into it.
Yeah, I was shocked when I just happened to, I like knives, and I was shocked when I realized there was a whole community of people that liked Balisongs and thought they were cool like I did. You know, I was like, what? There's a bunch of other people? Oh, wait, there's fucking competitions? What?
Yeah, and there's like each subculture, like, you know, Instagram and Facebook and Reddit, and every one of them was like kind of their own population. And I mean,
Yeah.
some of them cross over, but yeah, it's
Yeah, I
fun.
was shocked. I was like, oh, wow, cool. I found my people. And I found people who kind of like, wow, get it as well, you know? And that's,
Corbin Lovin Ballins, Lovin Bally's,
yeah.
you know, going on those interviews with Wired or whatever, like that's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah, it
big for
was
the
awesome.
sport.
Yeah.
And you know, you represented well, so that's awesome. That's good to get the exposure to just not have, you know, gang oriented references or things like that, you know, like you can have a squiddy that's doesn't really intimidate that little kids
Mhm.
can use in public, you know. So I think that's great.
TSA approved.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's pretty
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah. You seem like a music man. I asked you about intro music and you threw out to put up some Aesop Rock.
That was hard. It was
Yes.
hard choosing.
No, do you have some artists that you like and you listen to? Sounds like you probably listen to a lot of music. Your posts generally have some music involved, and
Yeah, I've always loved, you know, going to concerts and shows and stuff like that too. Had a buddy that was in a band and he got to, you know, open up for like Korn and Slipknot and some of those bigger bands. And I don't know, I love like hip hop, like older stuff, 80s, 90s, but also like Rhyme Sayers, Aesop Rock is um, one of my favorites. I really like Prof a lot. Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff. I'm not real huge into country, but you know, I like some bluegrass just because it's really musically, technically proficient. You know, if you can just, some of those guys play some crazy stuff on guitars and mandolins and banjos, but
and everybody
yeah,
likes Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson, you know.
you know, classics.
um, uh, okay, so I was trying to think of some different questions than maybe some of the other makers, and
Yeah,
so and I had a conversation with somebody recently, and I thought I would bring this up with you just to see what your thoughts were. What do you think of Balisong pricing? And you know, some people complain that it's so high, and why does it cost the materials to make this knife, and why do the makers put it at this price, and how come this maker over here can do it for so much cheaper? Who's right, who's wrong doesn't matter, but what do you think merits the value in those things, and how do you come to a decision about pricing, and what make to you, what's your thoughts on that basically?
yeah. You know, if people just wanted the least expensive knife, they could, you know, have them made in China. They could outsource all their, they could use their design and then have it made there, and it'd be a lot cheaper. But then you are running into quality control issues with materials and stuff like that. You know, you just don't have the control over. Um, you could outsource it to somebody in America, you know, and that's going to raise your costs just because of labor and all of that as well, you know, compared to have, say, like China make it, you know. You buy the equipment, the materials, the time it takes to design, the time you're paying yourself just to even make it, you know, like if you spend 3 hours to tune it, you're losing money, you know, like, but you're going to do whatever it takes to make the best knife. So, um, it just depends. Like, I think it warrants more money if it's made like in-house. If it is all outsourced, then like that might be a different discussion. The artistic value, you know, you could buy a piece of art that goes on your wall, you know, and that's subjective to price as well. I'm trying to make the ones that flip the best, not just look the best as well. I mean, that's kind of a balance that my main goal is to make them flip well and then look good at the same time. So
I
like,
mean, you're touching every single knife that goes in it, you know, that you sell to people. You're in
yep,
your hands
yep,
building it, you know, so
yep.
that's a lot
You
of
made it.
time that you have to give to sell one knife, to build one knife. How
And
many
even if
hours
you
is that,
tried
you
to
know?
do like mass production on a small level, you would still have to charge a certain level. Otherwise, you just couldn't keep up with either the demand or make enough profit just because there's not enough hours in the day to make them yourself, you know? So, um, I don't know. I don't have employees or I don't have people that like, you know, come in to help me work on batches or stuff like that. So like, that could potentially, you know, speed things up or change prices or things like
What
that.
about
But
materials? Do you outsource, you know, that your titanium and steels that you buy?
they're coming from the US, so like I haven't had issues with shortages or supply chain issues because they're all coming from the US. So that's kind of been an important thing.
So
You see
they're
some of the
100% forged in the US, everything.
yeah, everything that yeah, so we haven't had issues with that, but you know, see how that goes as time goes on, you know, if they start allocating those materials for other things because they're not getting materials from other countries, you know, or it's hard to
Right.
say, but for now, you know, and like you see inflation of everything, it's you're trying not to like raise prices of knives when you're getting prices raised of everything else on you. But so it's just kind of it depends, you know. Do you want a knife that was custom made or do you want one that there's 10,000 of them and you know, you hope that they're all the same, but you know, you don't know how well they were inspected or how well they flip or if the people that designed and made them flip knives. Like, I mean, that's kind of my main concern with like the biggest knife making companies that make Bally's is just like, do any of those guys flip, you know? Because they just kind of missed the mark for me personally in
Right.
some of those knives, you know? Like the 4x progression has not been like a graceful thing. So it just makes me wonder who's running that, you know? But that's fine.
Um, do you ever, so I kind of asked you this earlier, do you ever make other types of knives? So you told me, is there anything you think, do you ever think of expanding into other, like go, oh, maybe it'd be cool to make a volley or a pocket knife or, you know, or
Yeah, I
different
do want to make
things?
that stuff. Um, I'll still keep making some like little fixed blades and stuff like that just for fun, but I would like to
You were saying
do
Nux maybe, or other, you were saying earlier, saying, oh, other little
yeah,
things would
some
be fun.
EDC tools, stuff like that. I think is kind of a fun thing, you know. I have some other things kind of in the works for little gear,
It's,
stuff like that, merch.
I mean, yeah, and that's probably good for a maker such as you to have a little thing like the Nux or those nunchuck ones, or I forget what those are called, to have
Yeah,
that little thing that's a lot easier to make, and you can just have it in stock more for people who want to own it and buy it.
yeah, it,
Like that, something like that's kind of cool. I like those little, even though I don't care to buy them, I'm not one. I usually don't buy those kinds of things. You know, I don't
sure,
have.
yeah.
Yeah,
Some of those things are just kind of fun to mess around with, but
yeah,
yeah, you're not necessarily using them all the time.
yeah. I do have fidget toys in my shop. So actually, it's not true. I do fuck around with them sometimes. So, but I don't generally collect them like I do knives. Uh,
Yeah, knives are definitely the first love, and um, yeah, right now I'm trying to have all that machined myself. That's what I'm working towards now is getting my own CNC. So because right now Julian, he's the one that machines my parts. So
Yeah. So what are some big moments to you, or big steps, or big wins, or that you were like, you had a goal and you were like, man, when I get that, this is gonna, is there, or some moments when you release something, even what was like to you, like some key big moments for you as a maker that took you to this next place you wanted to be?
probably just like the Monarch's first lotto, when we lottoed that first, or auctioned the first proto that we had available. I think that one went for like 4 grand, and like I'd never seen an auction go like that high for any of the makers that like I, was following and was into and stuff. So I felt like that was a pretty big moment where it's just like, this is something that you can do, and that, just don't drop the ball, and like hopefully you can make something out of it, and I mean, I'm 38. It took me 30 until I was 31 or 2 to figure out kind of really what I wanted to do. I feel like that was the hardest thing for me. And then once I was like, I want to make knives, then it was just, things started opening up, So
Yeah, I get amazed that I said it in my last interview that Lucas is 25, man. That's crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
smart guy, and he's doing
Yeah.
huge things for being that young. So yeah.
Totally. Um, I'm 51 and done a bunch of different things. And so I'm constantly like surprising myself, learning how to do some of the tricks I am at the age I am. I think
Yeah.
I'm like, it cracks me up sometimes. But let's see. What food fuels you? What kind of like are you a coffee drinker? Do you like you obviously you're a beer drinker, but what do you live on?
Um, I used to live on coffee, and then when the 9 to 5 went away, like I don't need that to stay awake and engage to work anymore. So I don't know. I enjoy like a beer here and there, like a little bit of whiskey, but I don't know. Getting a little older makes it rough to have hangovers, So it's just moderation.
Right. Yeah.
Lots of water.
Is there anything else that we're forgetting here? Anything you want to add before we open it up to some viewer questions?
No, I don't think so. Appreciate you. Thanks for having me on, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's been fun, man.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you being here. Let's see what other people have to ask here. Let's see. Anybody else? I'm not going to go back in the thread, so anybody who wants to ask something, unless I look back a little bit and see something, but we're going to try not to go backwards. Finish the keg. Let's see. Any questions here for Monarch or Solo? Which do you prefer?
Tough. Flipping wise, I like the Solo. Tuning and like hardware wise, I like the Monarch better.
Did you see that? Are you seeing the questions, or do you want to? What's the general plan for next design?
Next design is going to be a channel. I'm not going to do the sandwich for the next one. I would like to do a trainer blade either for that one or a standalone knife after the next one, and that'll be a trainer. I'd really like to have a trainer option for people that just can't have the live blade. So, but there's gonna be, I'm gonna have some merch at the Atlanta show. I'll have some sheaths from Dylan at Area 51. I'll have sticker packs. I have some range ride patches. I'll have some different styles of hats, potentially shirts and hoodies, but I'm not positive on that one yet. Diego merch, that's definitely a possibility. That's one of the sponsored flippers there. Proano V2 Diego. Check out his Bally teaching class. It's pretty awesome. Thanks. Definitely ready for a channel as well after doing a million of these. I would like, so that question was just, do I want some, am I going to do like a unique or weird orca trainer? Something like that. I probably won't. I'll probably do like a titanium handled trainer. I just want something that's really robust, that's going to take like a billion drops, you know? So usually metal works a little better for that.
What's up with that Blade Show full dress that you were mentioning something about?
Yeah, that one, hopefully I'm going to have two of those guys, one for the show and maybe one for Instagram. That's some black Damascus from Alpha Knife Supply, and then I got some crazy Damasteel blades that'll go with that.
Nice. And how many of those will you have? Just
two. I think I'm just gonna do two full dressers for now.
You have no idea of price though, or things like that yet?
I think I'm just gonna do auction on that, so it'll have like a no reserve, and just...
As you can tell, my wheels are turned. I'm like, okay, you know, I'm gonna be there. So
yeah, I'll see you there. Would you ever do a collab with another maker like Lucas or Rotten? Yeah, I definitely would not mind to do a collab with those guys. It's a tough thing. It just worked out really well with Julian. Our personalities, our styles, the way we work, stuff like that. You know, it just lined up well because, you know, sometimes it's tough to make things work even with like the closest of friends. So yeah, I'd definitely be open.
And the solo is like very different than the emissary or other things. You know, like you guys have different. You guys like You guys have like, it's like two cool things coming together. You know, you had these two cool makers. It wasn't like they were both making similar things, you know.
I guess, yeah. Tune your valleys. I used to use a pivot lap, but I just do it by hand now. Main thing is just keeping it flat. If it's, you know, if you have it not flat, then it's really hard to get it perfectly tuned down as low as you can. Use like really fine grit so you're not just eating through it. So the main thing is you're just gonna assemble and disassemble a lot to check it.
What grit do you normally use for lapping like that?
I think at like 1200, 1500, something like that.
Right.
Fine.
Okay. Yeah, I use 15.
Yeah, like, so this one was, do I use any other ballets other than the ones that I make? Yeah, the Orca, I'm a big fan of that. I'm honestly not a humongous aluminum fan. Like, you probably won't catch me making an aluminum knife anytime soon, but I'm a big fan of everything that Lucas does. Kraken's a great knife, especially for the price, you know. Make 8s instead of circles. I'm not sure. Like in the hole pattern or something?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think he's talking to somebody else. Anyway. Got Monarch Facebook. JK does the CNC. Do you do the assembly and finishing and sharpening? Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, I do all of that. I even will try to do some of the prep if I can before, like machining, anything that I can do to just kind of be a part of the process. There's times where I've, you know, done some like part changes and stuff like that, but for the most part, Julian's running that. But then, you know, everything else, you think you can, you know, just slap together something off the CNC. You can't just press a button and it doesn't just make you a knife that just slaps together instantly.
So many people think that it's like, oh, it's just assembling. It's like, no,
But there is a lot of like hand finishing, lots of other things just to make try to make things as perfect as you can make them, you know, just on all surfaces and finishes. So I do all that. I do the sharpening, tuning, finishes, and stuff like that. Julian, he does his own, you know, tuning, finishes, sharpening as well. So it's not like one of us just does it all for everybody. Or
what
like the
about the
Monarch
design
batches,
aspect?
we just both make them, and then I get mine and he gets his, and we just go.
What about the design? How did you guys communicate about the design? Did you guys both have one part that you were dealing with, or did you guys go in on the whole design aspect together, sit at a computer and bang it out together?
Yeah, it was pretty much like that. We did it all together. He did have a little bit of reference that he wanted to draw from for the blade from Nick Swan. He had a folder that really had a cool Tonto design, so that was kind of where it was inspired from. But otherwise, yeah, we just tried to, you know, make something together that we were both in on, you know, every part of it. Every run that we've made, there's always been an improvement, from the first time we made bearings to every single iteration after that. There's always been something that we've improved on, just because we're both kind of perfectionists in that regard. So whenever you can make an improvement, then you just do it. But it's really hard with big companies, you know, like they can't invest the time and the money and resources to like retool everything every single time they want to change something, you know. So they might run something into the ground for years instead of just always trying to improve their design, you know. So like it's always a evolving process where you just want to make the best knife you can.
And did you go to bushings just pretty much based on people's opinion in the community saying they wanted that?
Our preference, we just like bushing better ourselves too, so it was just like, all right, we wanted to try to see if we could do that, like make it as robust and minimal hardware as possible, and thought it would be easier for people to tune if it was on bearings. But we just prefer bushing flipping knives better than bearings, so that's kind of why we just switched and never went back.
Right. Okay. Cool. Yeah, man. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Another awesome episode of Damn Right I Got Knives. Let's see if any more questions roll in here. But man, keep up the great work, and I'm looking forward to finally meeting you in person in Atlanta.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and can't wait to have a beer with you too and talk shop. You know, if you're gonna be next to our table, we can just have to catch up.
Yeah, awesome. Somebody's asking if they can get a replacement blade, replacement bushings and washers. Can they get that from you directly?
Yeah, hit up. Well, if it's from Monarch, just hit up me or Julian. Solos, yeah, I can take care of you.
Somebody's asking, I think, what are you most excited about for Blade Show?
Seeing everybody. I just miss seeing everybody again. It's overwhelming being there just because it's so big and there's so many people and so many knives. It's like Disneyland for people that are in love with knives. So I just miss seeing all the buddies that, you know, you meet over the years on Instagram, and then you get to run into them in real life, and it's just crazy. You know, you don't expect the way they look and act, and you know, you shake hands and hug or whatever, and it's like no time lost. So it's pretty cool. I miss all the people.
That's awesome. I'm so looking forward to it, man. Blade Show West was cool, but I can only imagine how much more it's going to, more of the same and more is going to happen at Blade Show Atlanta. Yeah. Yeah. Are you having anybody flipping your knife at Blade Show?
I might have Diego. We'll see if he's going to do some flipping for the contest, but I think he's going to be there. He might be working with me.
Do you think it's going to be, would he be flipping the Solo or the Monarch?
Wherever he wants.
Okay. Cool. Thank you guys for your compliments here. I'm just trying to keep this going and have some fun with the makers and flippers and I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
Love seeing it, man.
I'll stop if you guys want. What's that?
Doing a good job at it. Love seeing them.
Awesome, man. Cool.
Fun.
Yeah. When and where is Blade Show? Blade Show's in Atlanta. Definitely want to compete. Oh, cool.
Yeah, next year I'd like to do some of the other shows potentially. I just didn't have any knives ready for Texas this year, so.
Yeah, Blade Show West, man. That you guys were almost going, but then it all fell apart.
Yeah, so maybe they'll do a different venue next year, and then we can go. Or, I mean,
even if it's California, man, you guys, nobody. I totally could do it. You know, I understand it's a bigger risk for you guys, but man, I had a lot of knives there that were illegal.
No problems. Good.
Tips on growing beards. Eat your
I'm
Wheaties.
the wrong person to talk to, bro. Sorry. I'm half Japanese, so like it's not as thick as my dad's.
Yeah, I used to have a pretty big one with a little curly mustache too, back in the day. But yeah, growing beard tips. All I can say is don't eat bagels with cream cheese and let the cheese stay in your beard because it stinks like absolute heck. Yeah.
That is true. They get messy.
Yeah, especially in the hot weather, like here in San. I remember once that happened to me, and it was like all of a sudden, midway through the day, I'm like, "What the heck is that horrible freaking smell following me around all day?" Finally, I realized it was my own damn beard. It was stinking so bad. Oh my god.
Yeah. Then it's like after winter, then we just all shave. It's like, all right, I'm good with this now.
Yeah. But now I shave my beard because I just do any attempt to look younger, you know.
I know. I got the grays now, so I'm just like, all right, it's over with.
All right, yeah, I can't wait to meet everybody too everybody too that I have met and become friends with on Facebook, and especially during the pandemic and all this stuff. It's just, to be able to get to see people is going to be pretty awesome. It's going to be extra cool.
Just brings everybody together, and then it'll be cool to see, what everybody brings that's new, and that's always exciting too. So
yeah,
I'm a knife fan, so it's just cool to see what's there.
I got to thank you most for making killer knives and for inspiring and all of that. So thank you for being on here. And
thank you. I appreciate it. I love making knives, and it's, I couldn't do it without all you guys. So thank you.
All right. And I'm going to get us one of your solos. I'm going to try and get it directly from you. So at Blade.
Got you covered.
That's like on my list, like top of my list.
All right. I'll see you there, bro.
All right, man. Thank you guys for watching. This is Damn Right I Got Knives signing out. Yeah, I can say that. I said it wrong. This is Damn Right I Got Knives signing out. Take 2. Adios, amigos. Later.
See you, everybody. Thanks.